Welcome back, Stoner Squad. DanIsStoned here, and thank you for joining me today for another video. So, we know it has been a pretty rough week for Paradox, with the ceasing of development of Imperial Rome, at least at least for this year. We know that that means it's going to die a slow and painful death. It's a decision that has been met with a significant amount of backlash. But it's not the only thing that they have had a bit of a problem with. The recent release of the EU4 expansion Leviathan has been met with a massive amount of negative backlash. I mean, it is literally a dumpster fire, and all you need to do is just go and have a look on Steam here to see the expansion. You see, just look at the reviews here, overwhelmingly negative. I think the positive numbers of the single digits they are is 8% of the nearly 3,000 user reviews of the game are positive. Just Christ, it has been an absolute horrible week for Paradox. Really goddamn awful. And yeah, you know my feelings on the matter, especially on what concerns Imperial Rome. But that's not what I want to talk about today. Today, I want to talk about something else. And I was kind of looking around on the internet a little bit, and an article kind of cropped up and caught my attention on PC Gamer. And it is Paradox Interactive say player toxicity from its forums are driving away developers. This is going to be funny to read. So yeah, let's get into it. It's this particular article that I really do want to kind of drive your attention to. So, Paradox developers are tired of dealing with a culture that is not enjoyable to take part in. Grand strategy studio Paradox Interactive have spoken out against the rise of toxic behaviour in its fanbase, saying that the latest Hearts of Iron for developer diary, that its developers have gotten a little sparse in these forums over the last few months because they are tired of dealing with the crappy behaviour. Often we do face a debate culture that is not enjoyable to take part in, where it is taken as a given that devs are either lazy or incompetent, and that where everything we do is viewed through that lens. Content designer Archangel85 wrote, "Not only is it incredibly demoralising to spend months of your life on creating something, only to see that the people you made it for tear it to shreds, it is also a debate that gives no one nothing." Now, well, how am I gonna kind of reply to this? Because I mean, from what I've seen on the forums, and I've been on them quite a lot. I don't post as much as I should, but I do kind of lurk on there and have a look what's being said. I've never really seen any toxic behaviour, or if there is, I haven't seen it. And if there is, I would suspect it is a very small minority. And I really have not seen any incredibly toxic behaviour on it. I have seen players that are angry, and rightfully so, and we'll get into that in a minute, and the reasons why they are. But yeah, I haven't really seen much toxic behaviour. Players seem to be angry at the fact that Paradox are releasing half-baked DLC and charging full price for it. And I think that they're legitimate concerns. I mean, a customer, these fans who are long-time fans of the company, who continuously buy their product, they have a right to say if they think their DLC is half-baked and trash, and they should be able to say that. I mean, no way am I advocating that they can send any death threats to any developer or kind of properly create a toxic environment. No, and if anyone does do that, then I strongly condemn it. But for what I've seen on the forums anyway, I don't really see much of that. I mean, maybe there is, but I mean, I haven't seen any. And the players have a right to say that they're kind of what they're doing at the moment, and what they have been doing for quite a while, and we'll get into that a little bit later on, is been absolutely trash. I don't know what's going on with the company. I don't know what's happened, but there has been definitely some massive decline in quality control. There was a time where Paradox was renowned for having quality content, and there was a time where and I think a lot of other players, didn't mind paying full price for a base game and then paying 19 to 20 euros or whatever it is in dollars for the expansion, as long as the expansions were well thought, well made, and kind of usable. And it seems that recently that they're not. Paradox seem to be releasing out more DLCs, which are getting considerable backlash, and rightly so, not aiming this at developers or anything. I'm more or less aiming I'm venting my anger more or less at the company, not the corporate side of things, not the people who work tirelessly on these games, who I have a lot of respect for. More or less the company itself, and yeah, it is. It's not good. It's not good, and if Paradox don't pull their finger out, they're going to be losing a lot of customers and a lot of loyal fans that have been playing their games for such a long time. But anyway, Archangel85 was making a practical point, not just referencing the emotional drain of constant online beefing. We aren't paid to wade through pages of abuse to find a few nuggets of useful feedback, and so that feedback is not acted on, they clarified. Again, when I go through the forums, and I've been going through European Universalis forums, Imperator forums, Hearts of Iron forums, not so much, because I don't play Hearts of Iron, so I don't really know exactly what that part of the kind of Paradox forums like. It may be toxic, maybe not. I honestly don't know. But from my experience on Paradox forums in general, the fans seem to offer generally constructive criticism on why it is wrong, on what is not good. Most of the kind of harshy, toxic sort of criticism comes from the Steam reviews, mainly. If you go on your Steam reviews, you can see a lot of like toxic stuff, notably directed to Johan, who has been like heading the EU4 Leviathan update, as well as Emperor, and of course he started off work on Imperial Rome, and a lot of it has been directed at Johan, and that's not cool. That's really not cool. But on the forums, no, I always tend to find that a lot of the users, they do offer their reason. They kind of tell their reasons why they think it's trash, and they normally give a reason to what's wrong. So I don't get that. I really don't get why Archangel85 is like saying that. I really don't. Maybe there is maybe I've missed it, but honestly, from what I've seen, I haven't really seen much of the kind of toxic-y stuff. Anyway, Frederick Wester, the executive chairman on the board at Paradox, expressed similar sentiments today, a day later on Twitter, in response to complaints about the EU4 expansion Leviathan. We'll get to that in a minute. It has an overwhelmingly negative user score on Steam, which has led to some rather personal blowback against Paradox Tinto studio manager Johan Anderson, which is what I was just previously talking about. It's like, on the forums, no. I mean, the developers, we know they're very active on these forums, right? And good, kudos to you, it's great. It means you can interact with your fan base, it means you can get their thoughts, you can get what they think is good, what they think is wrong, and then you can work on that to make things better and not make the same mistakes as before. Not that I'm saying you have learned from your mistakes before, because I personally think that based on the recent releases that you have been doing, notably in terms of DLC, it's not been good, and I don't kind of think you have been listening. But again, that's just my opinion. But again, it's on the forums. I don't think there is this toxic element. I really don't. I haven't seen it on Steam. Yes, I mean bloody hell, on Steam reviews, it's a frigging war zone, people. It's like kill or be killed. It is literally that. I mean, God, look, just buggy, utterly broken garbage doesn't offer any form of explanation to what's wrong and what needs to be fixed. Fix my ass. Every time I re-enter a session, I get hit with -3 stability. If I close my game, there's a 50% chance my files get corrupted. I mean, this is soft stuff. I mean, we can go down to like proper hardcore stuff, and they really, really, really kind of rip into them. And I've got to say, poor old Johan does take the brunt of this. Just because he has been the lead on this, and for the past 2 EU4 expansions, he's the one that's been like leading it, and they have both been pretty bad. Especially Leviathan. Emperor wasn't great. Leviathan, it was just a massive dumpster fire. Really, it's been a huge dumpster fire. But yeah, all this to kind of say that I don't really get the. I mean, on the forums, and I mean, for God's sake, Paradox, right? If you don't want your fan base to criticize you for what I see as something that you need to be legitimately criticized for, which is for a long time you have been providing a lack of quality content, and by rushing out these things, and it just seems to be a cash grab. And that's the only real thing that I can actually kind of think about it, because these DLCs, they're not being tested. I mean, it's clear they're not being tested. I mean, they've been released in such a buggy state. Something needs to be. I mean, spend more time on it. Take another month or two. Push it back another month or two. Test it. Just release it in a decent state, and then you wouldn't have any of this backlash. It has been brought on by yourselves. It's not fans that are being toxic and kind of going ape crap because you're not delivering what they want. Well, you are not actually. Well, yes, you are not delivering what they want, but it is. I'm not saying that I'm not advocating any form of toxicity or any form of abuse to any of the developers or anyone at Paradox. I mean, if anyone is doing that, then it's abhorrently wrong. But the criticism leveled at the kind of game and the work you've been doing for the past 2 years is totally justified, in my opinion. And anybody with a kind of a modicum of a brain can see that the decline in your quality of content is massive. It's massive. And the only reason I can think of is money. I'm not saying it's the developers' fault. I mean, I really appreciate the work they do, and they put a lot of time into effort into their baby, and I can really understand that. But I really do think it comes from above, and it's all to do about money. And I'll get to that in just a quick second. But you've got to accept the fact that the backlash is there for what you have released. You cannot expect people to go, oh, brilliant work, Paradox. What a great expansion. My game crashes once every 50 years, but that's fine because the intent was there, and I appreciate the hard hours of labour you've put into this, so I can pay €20 to buy this buggy mess, play 5 minutes, and then wait for you to correct it. It's not right. You charge for a base game an incredible amount of money for a base game, and then you charge an incredible amount of money for these expansions, because every game you release, it is, I mean, let's face it, and I'm going to say it like this, it is bare bones, okay? It is bare bones. And what makes a Paradox game good over time is added content, added expansions, but not added naff expansions, added quality content did. And there was a time where it did not bother me, or I suspect a multitude of other gamers, to pay the full base price of the game upon release, even though the game was kind of, or the game is kind of, I would say, bare bones. I mean, I say bare bones in quotes because of its stuff to do, but you can feel that it needs completing, it needs fleshing out, it needs more stuff. But at one point, it didn't bother me to do that. I would do that because I knew behind that I would have quality DLC content that would really improve the game and reward the developers working on it. And that is not happening anymore. That is gone. That is finished. And we've gone down a model now where it is constant releases of just mediocre, I think that's the best term, mediocre content for these games. And your customers are getting angry, and it is totally normal. And again, the only reason I don't put the blame on the developers, I really don't. I mean, they're working on something that's, I mean, they have got orders from above telling them you've got to do this in a certain amount of time. I'm sure you've got, this is what we need, this is what we need to work on, this is what we need to bring out, you have such and such time to do it, and this is when we release it. And it's all in the optic of making as much money. Now, I do understand that the gaming industry is a business, and the companies do need to make money. It is normal, it is a business. They need to be paid for what they do. But what they do need to do is have quality control. And you can't constantly milk your customers with mediocre content and then expect these customers to still be happy and loyal and come back and say, great job, we'll buy more stuff. It doesn't work like that. And if you keep going this way, you're going to be losing your fan base. And a lot of them are already walking away and not coming back. And they're really getting angry. But again, I think this is to do with corporate. I think it's got to be corporate greed. It's got to be. It's the only kind of reason I can think of. Now, I've been looking kind of online, and you can get this. This is like the Paradox Interactive. Like, these are the accounts that have been published in their annual report. And we can go down to the 5-year summary of the evolution and the growth of the company. And it is quite an interesting look, and it's quite an interesting read. If you want to go through all this, it takes quite a while to read through. But you can get this openly from their website. If you go to Paradox Interactive Studios website, you can access their 5-year plan report, whatever. And if you go down to the 5-year summary, and what's interesting is the exponential growth in terms of revenue since 2016, so 2016 to date when Stellaris was released, all the way up to 2020. Okay, and the revenue of the company is literally trebled. Literally. It's crazy. It is literally trebled. And the thing that I'm thinking here is the company's growing, okay? It's growth, it's growth, it's growth. And now instead of having a company that is delivering kind of quality content that is getting rightfully paid for this. Okay, we're seeing exponential growth of the company throughout the last 5 years, which means money makes more money, makes more money, makes more money, and we're kind of. I get the feeling that the company is kind of pushing towards profit ahead of quality, and it's a bad trend, and it doesn't look good. It really doesn't look good at all. But yeah, it's I just can't. I don't get why Paradox say that player toxicity is driving developers away from its forums. Honestly, I haven't seen much on the forum. I haven't seen any really much forms of toxicity on the forum. I go on EU4 forum, Imperator forum, CK3 forum, CK2 forum, whatever. The only one I haven't been on is Hearts of Iron forum. Maybe that's different, maybe not. But I really don't see much toxicity, to be honest. I'm just trying to get my head around this. Why are they saying this? I honestly don't know. But anyway, that's about it for this video. Just kind of my thoughts on the matter here. I thought I'll kind of put that out in the open. Anyway, if you did enjoy this, please don't hesitate to hit that like button down below. If you want to see some more kind of content just like this, I'll try to cover some more news stuff from time to time. If I see anything interesting that I feel that I would like to cover, then I will, of course, cover it. And this, I just couldn't really miss it. I kind of laughed half off when I said Paradox Interactive says player toxicity is driving developers away from its forums. Yeah, sorry. I don't get that, people. Criticism, yes, a lot of it is valid on the forums. Steam, maybe. I mean, that's where the most of the toxic stuff is coming from, but yeah, please don't mislead us by saying that the forums are becoming toxic. I honestly don't buy that. But anyway, as per usual, thanks for being here, and I'll hopefully catch you all in the next one. Bye for now.